you're watching us on Facebook Live, I'm Lauren Van Hemert from RDU on Stage, and I am with the lovely Rebecca Jackson-Artis and incredibly handsome Jack. I'm so glad you guys are joining me this morning. And Jack, I said I would start with you, so when it gets to the boring grown-up talk, you can go and do your thing. So I want to talk about, you and your mom made a video, and that's what gave me the idea to have you on. Oh, I love the product placement. Thank you, Rebecca. I love it. Can you guys still hear me? Because, okay, good. Phew, you were frozen for a minute. Jack, when you turn on the news or you see what's happening on TV or you hear what's happening in the world right now, what are you thinking? I know you're going to be the future president of the United States after your very successful DJ career. So what are...
Hold on, Lauren. We're going to switch to my hotspot.
Oh, okay.
For some reason, our internet's been acting funky lately.
And I hate.
Okay. Are we good?
I can hear you. I can see you.
Okay. So there we go. Keep going.
That's good. All right. So Jack, when you see what's happening in the world, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking that this is a time to stand up and get back our way of saying what we want.
Way of saying what we want. So what is it? I mean, sometimes my kids look at the world and see how much adults are screwing it up. So what are some of the things that you want and hope for our future?
That we don't have different people in the world that don't match with the people that should be in the world.
So what you're saying is like that we don't have people in the world that hurt people who don't look like them.
Yes.
Okay.
I love that. I love that. So this is a hard question. You're only 10, but do you remember the first time your parents talked to you about racism?
I don't remember it, but I know when it happened.
You want to share that experience?
Do you feel comfortable sharing that?
Well, we've been talking to you about race and racism
since I was little.
Since like right.
Rebecca,
we've always been very open about it.
Yeah.
You can continue. Can you hear it?
I'm having trouble. Like it's choppy, but we're just gonna kind of plug on. I'm wondering.
No.
I don't know.
It's probably our internet. We've been having issues with our internet lately. But I put it on my Bluetooth. So
do you want to try to I have an idea. Do you want to try to log on to Instagram Live and see if that's better? Because Zoom is just acting weird right now.
It
You want
is?
to? Because I don't know, because you guys are. Well, now I can hear you and see you.
Yeah.
So, all right. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. And if we keep having problems, sorry for the technical difficulties. We're keeping on going. So when do you? What of your parent? What do you remember your parents telling you about racism?
That, like, the first thing I heard was that when it started, that was when I heard
it. And then when did it start?
It started like a long time ago. Like about around the 1600s.
1619.
Yeah, and when I first heard about it, I wasn't really surprised. I just was like, oh.
Does it make you kind of sad? I mean, that people can't just like and respect each other for who they are and not the color of their skin?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead. So how does it make you feel?
Makes me feel mad.
Because
I don't know.
Well, why?
It's pretty unfair.
It's not fair, and it's also people are making assumptions about you, right? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about the assumptions the police make about Black people?
Well, all I want is just stop killing Black people. That's it. Yeah. Stop treating them like you need them, but you abuse them. Right. That's the reason why slavery happened. Because white people needed Black people. Right. But they didn't like them. Right. So they abused them.
Right.
Your mom and I are going to have this conversation afterwards, but I think the same could be said for business, theater, pretty much anything, to be honest with you. I don't think things have changed that much. When my son was your age,
10.
When he was 10, he's now 21. Can you believe that? I can't even believe that. But when he was 10, I know, Rebecca, it happens in a minute. But when he was 10, I remember looking at my husband, stupid white people, honestly. And I say this all the time. I always tell my friends I've got stupid white people questions. So this is one of those stupid white people questions, Jack. But my husband and I used to say, oh, aren't we good? Our kids don't see color. And as I've had more conversations and I've educated myself, that isn't true. Everybody sees color. So do you think kids see color? And what would you say to those parents who are patting themselves on the back right now going, I teach my children not to see color?
I didn't hear the
Well, she said that parents are patting. Like, what do you think about those parents who pat themselves on the back like, oh, yay, I taught my children not to see color? Like,
you should tell your children, you should teach your children to see color, but not in a wrong way.
That is absolutely 100% true. And to be honest with you, when it happened in my house, my son's best friend in middle school was Black. And I remember my son looking at me going, "Hey, mom, I do see color. I do." And we had to have this like come to you know what moment in my house to figure out, okay, what does that mean? And so I don't buy the whole I don't see color thing anymore. I don't think that's true.
Well, I hear lots of people say, like white people say, "Oh, if I have Black friends, I see color," but doesn't technically mean that.
What does it mean?
It means that you see the beauty of Black people.
You are going to be president of the United States. That's all I have to say about this. What do you want adults to teach their children about racism? Because I think it's easy for a lot of adults to look at the news and turn it off and say, you know what, if I don't have on the news while my children are around, we don't have to talk about it. It's going to be too upsetting for them. What should parents be talking to their kids about? White parents and Black parents and brown parents and Latinx parents.
Well, you should be saying that you shouldn't always feel wrong of yourself because your race discriminates Black people. But you can you shouldn't still do crazy stuff just because you're white.
What I'm kind of hearing you say is you shouldn't exercise your white privilege or do the things that you're allowed to do because you're white, that you need to be thinking about that.
And then you also said, but you shouldn't feel bad about being white.
Yes, you should.
Like in your history.
Yes.
Sadly, Jack, just your answer about how long racism has been and going back to slavery, the fact that you even know that it happened in the 1600s, I kind of feel like you might know more than a lot of people about history. And you're 10.
So I'm going to be knowing history.
Did you hear what he said?
I didn't hear what he said. What did you say, sweetie?
My dad has 2 history degrees, so I will be knowing history.
I heard your dad's really embraced the whole homeschool thing since the pandemic has begun. Has your dad like gotten a little crazy with the homeschooling?
No.
He's
okay.
very organized.
Yes, he is.
And he's very disciplined.
He gives me extra work. But that always happens, so it's not a problem.
Yeah, well, because he also, even when they do go to school, like on the weekends, he gives them, things to read, things to write. And so that's just my husband. He's an educator. And so he just feels like, there's education in everything. Everything could have a rubric, like going to the grocery store, can have an objective. An education objective. So
is he a harder teacher than your teacher at school?
Yes.
Okay.
I was going to say, you can say it. We know the answer.
So, it's like, because my mother was a classroom teacher, so like I get it. Like I never truly went on vacation. even when we would go to Aruba or something, my mom would find some education historic tour that like she would create questions and say, at the end, answer these questions after the tour. And I remember being in middle school, my parents, because in about December, January of every year, they would go, where are we going to go this summer? And they would involve me in making the decision. And I said, I don't want to go on vacation. And my parents were like, what? I said, because I don't want to have quizzes and academic scavenger hunts anymore. Like, I just want to go on vacation. I want to sit. My mom even said, I said, I just want to sit on a beach and just look at the ocean. And so, and I think my mom really knew that. She's like, maybe I'm doing a little bit too much.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Jack, I heard, that you asked the governor questions. So if you could ask the governor a question right now, what would it be?
How could you stop systemic racism?
That's a deep question.
That's a big question.
Can I ask a question? Do you think the governors across the country could help end systemic racism?
They could, but they wouldn't.
What would you want to see them start doing about it? When you're president, what are you going to do about it?
I wouldn't just give $1 million. I would give way more than that because that's not enough. And I would stop police brutality, stop gentrification, and stop just all the problems of racism. Try to, please.
So this is this is probably a harder question. If you could ask President Trump a question, what would that be?
Be nice, Jack. Because we're very frank in our house about.
We are too. It's okay.
I don't know.
You do know, but it should come from the heart when you ask it. So if President Donald Trump were right here, what would you ask him?
And you wanted to have like an honest conversation with him,
Why did you build the wall?
Or
why did you want to build a wall?
Yes, why did you want to?
Why did you want to build a wall? Amen to that. That would be a good question to ask. I
think millions of reasons of why you need to build.
Right. Yeah. There's no logical reason. Right.
The Hispanics aren't doing anything. They're not killing your whole country. They're not burning down houses in Texas or anything, really. All they're doing is just bringing drugs into the plate.
No, they're not bringing drugs into the country.
Not all of them.
We're bringing drugs into their areas.
I was going to say, they may want to build a wall to keep us out. Jack, I know you want to be a DJ before you're president of the United States. So what is on your pandemic playlist right now? What kind of music do you listen to?
Just listening to some music yesterday.
I don't know. I really don't. I don't know. I don't know what song to do with.
Okay, well, what is your favorite group? The group you always listen to. Is that your favorite now?
There's many.
Okay, so name one.
Imagine Dragons.
Oh, he loves Imagine Dragons.
They're good. I had trouble hearing that one.
One Republic.
Okay.
Outcast.
Yeah, my husband has opened their minds to 90s hip hop. So they're 90s hip hop fans.
I think that the group that listens to.
Which one? Wu-Tang?
Yeah, Wu-Tang.
Mm-hmm.
Some else.
He also listens to A Tribe Called Quest.
Yes. Tribe Called Quest.
Yes.
I love that.
My is slowly trying to brainwash them into 90s hip hop elitism. So.
That's okay. That's at least they're listening to some good music.
Oh, yes. Jack likes James Brown.
Oh, yeah.
And for a while, actually, I had my boys loving Bill Withers. Like, yeah, they loved Ain't No Sunshine, or like A Lovely Day. And I remember when they were little, Jack would be in his car seat singing, Day.
Jack, I know I get frustrated when people don't vote too. And I know that frustrates you. So, what are you saying to all the grown-ups right now, all the kids who are 18 or going to be 18 by November? What do you want to say to people about voting?
Well, I'm not really mad at the people who aren't voting. That actually gives the chance for kids to vote. I'm really mad that kids can't vote. Because you know how they say, well, they're not smart enough? Well, teach them.
Do you think kids should be able to vote?
Yes.
At what age do you think?
It could be, like 14, 15.
I love that. But you're 10. Do you want to vote?
Yes.
So maybe we need to make it a little younger.
Yeah.
I love that. For the kids sitting home who maybe feel like they're afraid to speak up or they're not sure how to start conversations with their parents, what would you say to kids about finding their voice, using their voice, finding their power? Because I think kids really are going to change the world. That's my feeling.
Well, don't yell at people, because yelling and disrespecting makes them even more mad. But if you say it calmly, it at least makes them think about
it. I love that. Good lesson for adults too, I think. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jack. Do you have anything else you want to tell our audience?
Oh yeah, I was about to tell about the I was going to start a program with my dad where it's about having kids to vote, and you get adults around the world who don't want to vote and get the ballot, make them sign the ballot, and let the kids who have who want to vote for that person, they
write their vote on the ballot.
Yes, they write their vote on the ballot, and the adult
turn it in.
Yeah, the adult turns it in.
Yeah,
and it's a legal way to have kids vote.
So that's something that he's been talking to his dad. I was like, maybe I should start a nonprofit that links children with adults who just have had a history of not voting, but they're registered. and that child will go to that adult and say, well, you know what, we're going to go to the polls together. And then if you don't feel like voting, I'm going to tell you who to vote for. And they vote together. Now, again, I don't know, but you know, how that could work, but that's what Jack wants to do. And I think when Jack and my husband came up with that solution, I thought it was kind of interesting because I think it would get adults who don't vote out of their chairs and walk to the polls, because maybe they would feel kind of bad, like, wow, here's this little kid telling me like you're not voting, and so if you can't vote, then I just want to use your vote, you know, and maybe it would get them to go to the polls. So I don't know. We'll see.
I love that though. I think you and your dad should start a podcast and just do it like between now and November. And, you know, I think you have a voice and I think you should use that voice, use your music, use your activism.
Thank you. Say it louder.
Thank you.
You're welcome, but I love what you have to say. I hope your mom and you may take over my Instagram. I mean, she's taken over my Instagram today. She put the cutest picture of you on Instagram. But maybe take over later and do some sort of video. Just tell all the kids out there to get their parents to vote. November's not that far away.
No, it's not.
No, it isn't.
Well, thank you, Jack, for hanging out with the crazy old white lady today.
Yeah.
And I really do think kids are going to lead the way. So I want to use my platform so kids can speak up. I think kids are far more intelligent and honest than adults sometimes. So
we agree. He's like,
yeah,
oh.
I agree too. So thank you for this. And I'm gonna talk to your mom. I'm gonna talk to Rebecca about her experience being a parent and her experience being in entertainment. And you can hang out if you want, or if your mom says it's okay, you could be.
Yeah, let's just talk about. And you want to say thank you for having me.
Thank you for having me here.
You are welcome. When you are running for office, will you come back and talk to me?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Oh my goodness. You're doing a good job.
Oh, I don't, you know, sometimes people say that when they meet both of, because I have an older son, for those people who don't know. My older son is a little more shy, but not that shy. But my older son is more scientific. Like, he's more into earth science. Like, he likes rocks and ants and cloud formations. Like, that's his thing, you know. He's not really in entertainment or socializing or network. Like, my youngest son, he's all about networking and shaking people's hands and, you know, like reaching out to people. So yeah. So when
a natural born politician.
Yes. And when people meet my sons, they're like, wow, you and Krasen are doing a great job. And I'm thinking, because you know this, Lauren, as parents, sometimes we're just like, I hope, like, every day you take one day at a time being a parent. You're like, okay, today I failed, but okay, I'll just go to sleep and tomorrow start all over again, you know? Or some days you go, yes, I really nailed it, you know, being a parent. And then you're like, but let's wait and see what tomorrow brings. So
let's wait to see tomorrow. Oh my God. And I think in this pandemic, we've all been tested, our parenting skills.
Talking to an elder last night, and he was telling me, he said, you know, I think the pandemic has made parents really appreciate educators, you know? So, yes.
I hope so. We're both moms. We both have sons. I told you a few minutes ago, my son's 21. When I saw what happened in Atlanta um, the other day, I was thinking to myself, my if my son was drunk and sitting in the drive-through line at Wendy's and fell asleep or acted up, probably wouldn't end the same way that it did um, last weekend. You wrote on your Facebook page right after George Floyd was killed, when your sons and husbands go to play basketball outside, you tense up unconsciously. When they come home, you exhale. Can you talk about the joy and the challenge and the fear of raising Black sons in this 21st century in this United States?
Sure. It's interesting because you're so excited to watch them grow and you know and discover life and interact with people, and you want them to go outside. You know, you want them to play basketball. You want them to um, feel free to interact with neighbors, right? You want them to enjoy life, and even down to going to school. You want them to want to go to school and have friends, and also be okay with making mistakes. You want them to feel comfortable with making mistakes and fixing them or healing from them. Mm-hmm. But then at the same time, you know that Black boys cannot make mistakes because of the world that we're in. And if they make mistakes, they are criminalized, demonized, and marginalized. And as a mom, you have to constantly fight and protect and constantly be on. And I guess that's the only way I can put it for white women to understand. We have to constantly be on and armed at all, like even down to like white people saying little microaggressions to our children. Because I know growing up, I had so many microaggressions, and I didn't know what was a microaggression. I thought it was normal for white girls to come up and touch my hair and say, "Oh my gosh, it's soft." You know, and I was like, "Oh yeah, it's soft," you know, but I had no clue what that was doing to my psyche, you know, that you understand? And so, you know, and so to have to tell your children, like, no, that's not a nice thing. That, you know, the fact that white man said that you're an articulate boy, that's not necessarily a compliment, you know? Or, I mean, we've had where, ever since our children were little, my husband and we love restaurants. So we have been taking our children to restaurants a lot. So they know, like my children know how to handle themselves in a restaurant. And on top of it, because they're Black, my husband and I are like, and every Black mom and dad knows this when I say it, you know, you're like, look, don't act up. But it's not just don't act up. It's like, don't embarrass every Black person in the world. And like, and we put that on our children because we know what the consequences are if we don't. And we've had white people come up to our table and say, "Oh my God, your children are amazing." And we're like, they're just sitting eating some food. Like, what, you know, what, I mean, they're eating, you know, and after a while, my husband's like, I don't think they're complimenting them because they eat well, you know? I think they're complimenting our children because they don't expect Black boys to behave at a dinner table. And I'm telling you, it's hilarious, Lauren, how white people like go even like one time we took a flight back to Chicago, and this older white woman, she was sitting in front of us, and she got up and she turned around and she saw that my sons were sitting in the seat next to me, and she was like, oh, wow, oh my gosh, you didn't kick my chair the entire time. You're amazing. Like, she just went on and on and on about how great that was and how well behaved, and and how, and I remember one time she was like, oh, and you guys look so well groomed, and it's like, what? It was a little bit too much, And so when we left, my sons were like, yeah, like, and I was like, no, because it was a little bit of, I think she was shocked to hear these two Black boys behind her, and she had a pleasant flight.
And it becomes more about her than your kids.
Right. And I remember her saying, they didn't kick my chair the entire time, and my seat. And I'm thinking, whatever. But I think when you get into the danger zone for being a Black mom is when you have white neighbors who are not as open-hearted and open-minded. And so when your sons walk to the basketball hoop, you're just praying that every white person that they pass recognizes them. Oh, that's the family, that's the Black family down the street, or doesn't pick away at every little thing that they do as something that could possibly be threatening. Jack loves to walk. He loves to walk around the neighborhood. And sometimes he'll say, Mom, can I just walk? Because the bus stop is like 2 blocks down. And he'll say, Mom, I think he missed walking to the bus stop during COVID. So he would always say, Mom, can I just walk to the bus stop and back? And Lauren, that would freak me out, and I would say, who am I to keep my son in the house all day? That's wrong. And he put on his mask. He's like, Mom, I'm wearing my mask, And I'm like, okay. So what I would do, I would let him walk, but I would stand in the driveway and watch him where he couldn't see me. Because at any point in time, if I saw one of my white neighbors, and we have a couple of new white neighbors, and so I don't know if they know my son. And so I just want to make sure. And also, I don't want to be that crazy parent that knocks on people's doors like, hi, this is my family. Look, we're the Black people. Like, I don't want to do that either. Like, we're safe. I don't want to do that. But so he's done that. Like, he's walked down to the bus stop, and I see him, and then he comes. And a couple times he's caught me like, Mom, you don't have to watch me. But it's because, that would absolutely destroy me, that my parents, that even if they didn't, even if they weren't harmed by the police, that they had to deal with police verbal abuse. And so I don't even want that to happen. My dad had to deal with it. My dad ended up almost suing the Skokie Police Department in Skokie, Illinois. My dad was a banker. He made a lot of money. He made a lot of legitimate money. Well, I mean, banks are evil, so I don't know how legitimate the money is. But my dad had a nice car. My dad had a luxury car. He was a Black man back in the 80s. My dad wore nice suits. And we lived in a primarily white neighborhood. And every Saturday morning, my dad was like, my dad was in the Army. So my dad was very structured. He would go to the bank. He would go to the cleaners. He would, he had his Saturday morning routines, and he did it every day. And there was this one police officer who would pull him over every Saturday morning and ask him for his license and registration, and ask him every Saturday morning, whose car is this? And my dad would always say, as it says on the registration, my name, and look at my ID, you know, my driver's license, and he would give my dad hell. Sometimes I would go with my dad on Saturday mornings to his Saturday morning routines, but it got to the point where my mom didn't want me to go because she didn't know what the end result was going to be. And she would always say, Philip, just take another way around to the cleaners. Don't go that way, you know? And it was on Church and Davis. It was at Church. Yeah, I think it was Church, and I think that's Central Park. Church and Central Park. So if anybody lives in Skokie, you know. And my dad got to the point, he was like, no, that's the shortest way to the cleaners. I'm taking that way, and that's where I'm going. And I shouldn't have to go a different route because of this racist cop. And every time. And I remember one time I went, and the cop pulled my dad over, and my dad, and I think it was because I was in the car with him, and it dehumanized him in front of his children, you know, or well, his child. I'm an only child. And so my dad was just like, you know what? Today's the day. I'm not taking your mess anymore. And my dad was like, no, I'm not giving you my license and registration because you saw it last week and the week before that and the week before that and the week before that. It's the same car. It's the same man. I am not doing anything. I didn't do anything illegal. I still don't know why you pulled me over. And that man pulled my dad out of the car and started to arrest him. And my dad fought that man. And I remember, and we were only about 4 or 5 blocks from my house. And I remember getting out of the car and running home. And I was probably maybe 8 or 9, maybe. And I ran home and I said, Mom, he's doing it. The officers arrested Dad. And I was like, okay. And so by the time we got around to the corner, they had already arrested Dad and had him in a squad car on the way to the police department. And my dad's car was just sitting there on the corner. So my mom, I remember my mom went, she just knew. She's like, they took him. So we went to the Skokie Police Department, and my mom was like, I'm here to pick up my husband, bail, whatever, like what? And they were like, no, we're not going to release him. And it was a Saturday. So they were like, you're going to have to wait till Monday when he has an arraignment. Yeah, that was crazy. And, but then what was really interesting is my mom was in tears. My mom was crying, and she was like, you guys are wrong. And my mom used to be a Black Panther. So my mom wasn't afraid of police, you know, but she was very respectful. She was very respectful. And she was just like, you guys are wrong. I want to know what he did. I want to see the police report. I want to, you know, and so somehow we ended up back home, and a couple hours later, my dad shows up at the house, and we're like, what happened? And he said, they released me. And, but this was an ongoing thing, Lauren. This was like, I mean, yeah.
But when we talk about police brutality, this story speaks to, we're not just talking about, you know, white policemen killing Black police. This is an example of police brutality, what you're telling. And that's where the problems are. That's where the problem lies.
Yeah. But it's crazy because the trauma that my dad went through, but it's not just my dad, it's my mom, it's me, you know, yeah, like, I mean, just even remembering that story, I was scared out of my mind because I knew my dad was also like today's the day type of guy. Like, that's it. Like when there was no, like, you can't imagine the lengths that my dad would go through or go to. And I was like, oh my God, this is it. My dad is going to be in jail for the rest of his life, or he's going to kill him. Like, you know, I didn't know, but I just knew to be scared out of my mind. And I just remember jumping out of the car. And also I was kind of scared, was there going to be a police officer running after me? Mm-hmm. And I just ran. And I'm thinking about it, I'm shocked that he let me run away. and run home. But yeah, so that's reality. My husband has told stories to me, like, of him being pulled over for absolutely no reason. My husband has never broken the law. He hasn't even smoked weed in his life, and luckily one time he was pulled over and he was driving back from San Antonio, back I think he was going somewhere. I think he was coming here to North Carolina, and because his parents were Air Force, career Air Force. And so his parents were stationed in San Antonio, and they were driving back to North Carolina, where they're from. And it just so happened that his parents were driving behind him, and Craston was in his car, and then they were in their car. And the police pulled over Craston, and my in-laws pulled up behind them. And Craston thinks to this day, he said, had my parents not been behind me, who knows what would have happened. So yeah. Because once the state trooper realized, he's like, who is that? And he's like, oh, those are my parents. And that's when the state trooper was like, okay, well, I'll let you go,
But the microaggressions you're talking about, I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and I'm going to tell this story because I want all my white friends, colleagues, audience members to think about this situation. So I live in a predominantly white neighborhood, and we've had some Black families in, and none of us talk to each other unless it's summer and it's pool season, and we're at the pool. Between summer and, once the pool closes and the pool opens again, during those 10 months, none of us, I guess there's cliques in our neighborhood, but typically we're not out and socializing. And last year, the bus stop for our neighborhood is kind of towards the front of the neighborhood, so it's far. And there was a Black parent who, it's like 6:30 in the morning, drove his child to drop him off at the bus stop. I don't know if it was raining, if it was cold. I don't know what the situation was. This happens all the time. Parents, there's parents who live towards the back of the neighborhood, and if it's raining or it's cold, they drive their kids to the bus stop and they sit there and wait for the children to get on the bus, and then they go home. So it's about 6:30 in the morning, Black man drops his kid off at the bus stop, drives his car, and he's driving back to his house in my neighborhood. And we have a neighborhood Facebook group. And some people started posting, there's a Black man driving through our neighborhood this morning. Does anybody know who that is, or should I call the police? He lives in this neighborhood. So this is the kind of microaggression we're talking about when we talk about microaggression, or macroaggression, because that's not even micro, that's macro. That's it doesn't only have to be the police pulling you over. It could be the white neighbor looking out her window going, oh, there's he lives in this.
I mean, look at Ahmaud Arbery. He was running through his neighborhood, and his white neighbors decided that he was a threat and shoot and kill him. I mean, and that's something that I even think about sometimes, because I went to grad school. I went to UGA for grad school, and sometimes the GPS, once you get off at 85, I believe it's 85. Once you get off 85, you have to go down this long kind of country road to Athens, right, to the campus. And there were times that sometimes the GPS would kind of take me off and take me a different route, for whatever reason, construction or whatever. And I would, it would sometimes be dusk or nighttime because I'd have to be at class the next morning and I wanted to get there, and I would think, if something were to happen to my car, and I was stranded on this country road, could I feel comfortable enough to knock on these doors to ask for help? or, you know, or whatever, like, you know, so I always made sure my phone was charged. I always knew to check in with my husband if I stopped at, or my mom, if I stopped at the gas station or something, to be like, yes, I'm here now and I'm here now. So they can make a mental note of like, wait, Rebecca contacted me then. So that if I did ever end up somewhat abandoned somewhere and I didn't feel comfortable knocking on a door, I don't know, like maybe they would call AAA for me or whatever. I don't know. But that's something as a Black person that we have to constantly think about. And that's why we always have to make sure our phones are charged and make sure that our tires are good and make sure that we get our checkups, because like we don't ever want to end up in a situation where we have to drive through a neighborhood that is not our own, or even that is our own, and we have to rely on our neighbors or the people in the neighborhood to help us, because many times they're not going to help us, they're going to attack us.
When did you first have the conversation with your children, your sons, about race, racism?
Okay. I mean, my husband and I, we started, I mean, like, as soon as they could comprehend language, I mean, we made sure to let them know that they were Black and they were beautiful and they were amazing and their hair was amazing and beautiful and their skin was amazing and beautiful and their eyes were amazing and beautiful, and the fact that, you know, they come from amazing ancestors. And then we had to go into, you know, there are people who don't like you because you are Black, and it's not a like. And that's something that, and I
Hold on, you froze up on me. I can't hear you.
you hear me now?
Okay, now I can hear you.
Sorry. I have, why is it? It shouldn't be on the internet. Okay, anyway, because I have it on my Bluetooth. Anyway, but I've been blessed to sit with amazing African scholars. Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, who called me last night and talked to my sons. And if you look these people up, they are world renowned. Like they've written books, they've done decades of study on race and racism, and Renuka Rashidi, and gosh, I mean, a ton of people that I have been blessed to, Ashra Kwesi, Anthony Browder, like, I mean, and so to sit with these brothers and some sisters, to listen to their lectures and talk to them, I was able to prepare myself that when I had children, I could share not just the feeling part of racism, because yes, that's very important. But we live in a world that doesn't matter who you are. Feelings don't matter. It's facts. What has happened to marginalize you? What has happened to oppress you, right? And so I tell my sons all the time, you can come to mom and dad about your feelings, or you can go to your grandparents about your feelings. But when you're at school, don't talk about your feelings. Talk about facts. What happened at school, right? Tell you the principal facts. What did the teacher say to you? How did the teacher oppress you or ignore you? Don't ever talk about being offended, because offended is, you know, that's not tangible, right? And so we talk to them about that, and we talk about how it's not that white people hate us, it's that white people fear us. See, this is what we need to talk about, because really, if you peel away at hate is just anger, and anger is just rooted in fear, right? And a lot of times fear is false evidence appearing real. It's a story that people have been told that just doesn't most of the time just doesn't exist. It doesn't. So my husband and I, our focus is always to educate the boys on living their best lives while being very self-aware that there are people who operate on fear. And so this is why you have police officers shooting Black people. It's because of the fear, like those police officers that shot that Black man in Atlanta, that was pure and simple the fear of their bruised ego. That was ego. That was ego. They can't even say it was because they were fearing their life. At this point, it was their egos were bruised. And they were fearing that their reputation with the world would be damaged. And so the nerve of this Black man messing with my reputation, I have to eliminate him. And that's what it is. So we've taught our sons that, just be aware of this fear, because that's how you can talk to those people who have this narrative in their head. As long as you realize it's a fear, you can have a decent dialogue, because you, like Jack said, you're not yelling, because people have fear, you can't yell at them because they're already on edge. Mm-hmm. You have to have a calm conversation with them. You have to de-escalate. But even then, a lot of times when people have fear, even if you're calm, they still will attack you. But a lot of times it's just, we just have to help. No. It is our job as Black people, and my sons know this, to educate themselves, to focus on their goals, to live their best life. It is not our job to eliminate white people's fear. That's what I want to say.
Amen to that. And truthfully, Rebecca, the reason I wanted to have this conversation is I was told a couple weeks ago, after George Floyd died, after doing 100 and something interviews on Facebook Live and Zoom during this pandemic, I was told after George Floyd died that I should stop having these interviews. And I was like, no, we need to have these conversations. We need to model what adult conversation looks like. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to listen. This is part of what education looks like. And when I started having these conversations with folks, some of my white friends and colleagues reached out to me and said, these conversations are making me uncomfortable. And my first response was like, good. They should make you feel uncomfortable. And then my next response was, you know what, if you can't take it, then tune out, because you're not ready to hear this. But it's been interesting to me to see the reaction, and from my white friends who I thought were more woke than they actually are.
Yeah, Lauren, and I know this is going to hurt, and I've been on a couple podcasts in the last couple weeks, and I've said it straight to white people on the podcast. I really don't think white people are ready to change. I don't think white people are going to change. I really don't. I think what we're seeing is the response that white people know what appeasement is. They know the right words to say to get Black people to shut up, right? Because look what they did with Obama. They voted Obama in to just go, I'm going to appease a whole bunch of Black people and people of color. See, we're not racist. Look at this country. We voted in a Black president. They didn't vote in a Black president to really implement change. That's why he was unable to implement change. As you can see, even some of his Democratic colleagues blocked him on certain things, right? with healthcare reform and things like that. So, you know, we have to really be honest, and white people, and I really pray that Black people see through a lot of this, you know, a lot of the corporations that are now putting up, like I was on LinkedIn yesterday and IBM has this red, black, and green IBM thing, you know, and I'm like, okay, IBM, really? You know, IBM, you know, IBM and how they exploit African countries for their minerals to make the devices and the products and the computers that they make. Are you truly ready to talk about that? You know, an example, Elon Musk. Let's talk about, you know, I saw on Netflix, I don't know if you've ever had a chance to watch that film, what is it called? Mars. It's on, well, it's like, it's a television show. I'm not gonna encourage you to watch it. I mean, if you have nothing else to do and you're like, and you just happen to be on Netflix, if you want to Google, you know, search for Mars and watch a couple episodes, I personally think it's a propaganda show to boost SpaceX and his work that he's doing. But when you look at the people, because it flashes and it goes back and forth between nonfiction and fiction. So it talks about the work that they're doing now to get us to eventually live on Mars. And then it goes to the fiction part where it like shows us in the future with this team going to Mars or whatever. But when the nonfiction part, it shows SpaceX and his work on, you know, at SpaceX, and they're interviewing real scientists, real physicists and stuff like that. And looking at his team, really? Like, here Elon Musk, and we'll just call it out, Elon Musk loves to have sex with Black women, right? I'm just gonna say it. We all know it. But he won't hire anybody to be on his SpaceX team. So this is what makes me, because real change. It's one thing, Lauren, for my white friends to contact me and say, Rebecca, how you doing? And I think that's great. And thank you. I love you. You did too. Everybody, Rebecca, everybody texted me, Rebecca, how are you doing? How are the boys doing? I'm so sorry. You know, like, I'm going to be more aware of my whiteness and whatever. But this is where my mother raised me to say, don't apologize, change. Right. And so now I really want to see what my same white friends that texted me, I want to see in January, what are you doing? Have you hired more Black people? Have you brought more, like, what if you have an investment club? Have you brought some Black people into your investment club, right? Have you, you know, I don't know if you have shares, or if you have, or if you know, if you work for a hedge fund, right? Have you invested or you know, whatever hedge fund stuff that's like, or capital, like if you work for a venture capitalist, are you investing in Black businesses and Black technology and Black, you know, and Black people? You know, if you're a politician, a white politician, are you sitting at policy tables and saying, look, you know, so much percentage of all state contracts need to go to Black and brown businesses, right? And we're going to have an accountability, or we're going to have an accountability group to go in that's run by Black and brown people to make sure the state is giving so many of that, right? What are we doing? And that's really why I'm not going to just go, yes, you know, this is so great. Like, I think this is a great time for Black people, because now Black people are speaking out. Black people are saying, this is what happened to me in the workplace. This is what happened to me at church. This is what happened to me in the grocery store in my neighborhood. Like, I am so happy that Black people now are able to have to share their PTSD and say, look, this is why I'm so stressed out all the time. This is why I need my time away from white people sometimes. This is why when I go to the grocery store, you know, like, these are the things that I have issues with. I'm happy what's going on at Second City. I am so happy. The chickens are coming home to roost. I am happy. Because it's about time Second City be called out on their racist, sexist, homophobic mess that they have been doing for decades. And then threatening people without threatening them, if you know what I mean, Lauren. Holding the key to people's careers, right? Making sure that there are certain people who just said, you know, why did you do that to why did you whitewash my sketch? I'm a Black person. Like, why did you make all the characters white? When I wrote a sketch for Black people, some of those same people suddenly who had a straight shot to SNL, Saturday Night Live, suddenly they didn't get in Saturday Night Live, or their tenure at, you know, or whatever, you know, Lauren Michaels stopped talking to them or something. I don't know. It's just, it's really interesting. And so Black people were not able to talk. And then, you know, it's just, so I'm so glad things are changing. And now they're, you know, look at what's happening in Broadway. Like, you know, board members are resigning and executive and artistic directors are stepping down. And it's because they're being held accountable for their actions. And so that's what I appreciate. However, the real change needs to be implemented. I want to see, again, what is January going to look like for us?
Not just January. What is a year from January going to look like?
Yes. And I'm going to say this. I have been on the grant panel for the United Arts Council of Raleigh-Wake. This past May was my 4th time. And I mean, some of the things I'm seeing, even in grant funding for the arts, it really disturbs me. Who is getting this grant money over and over again every year, and what they're doing and not doing with this grant money? Audiences that they just don't care to reach. They're just like, you know, we just don't do that, you know? Not because that's
one play during Black History Month. You know, we've got our February Black play during Black History Month, and the rest of the time.
Right. I'll say it, I'm going to try to be very careful how I say this, but like, there are certain cities that just don't care about logging in how many people of color come to their arts activities. And they give a very whack excuse of like, well, you know, we don't want to offend people. Lauren, I'm 42 years old. I have gone to thousands of different events. And when I'm asked, please mark off your ethnicity, I proudly mark off African-American Black, because I want them to know a Black person showed up, paid their ticket, you know, and filled a seat or whatever, because they know that there's a market for us, right? I have never heard of anybody saying, even if they don't check off an ethnicity box, I've never heard anybody say, oh, I'm offended so much that they asked me what my ethnicity is on an evaluation that I will never show up at another event. I've never heard that. If your art is good, if you have good intentions, people of color will show up. What I really think what they wanted to say was that it will offend white people to know who shows up at their events.
Well, and when you look at organizations right now, especially those, all of the organizations issuing these solidarity statements, which I'm sorry, I love you theaters, I do. Some of these solidarity statements are lip service. But my in some of the interviews I've done, we've been talking and exploring about this concept of transactional. If you are having a transactional versus relational relationship with your performers. And that's what it comes down to. That's what you're talking about. We can't have the transaction. We have to develop the relationships.
Yes. And that's even good business. Yes. I mean, if you talk to any person with a business, they'll say, I don't want just somebody to come. I don't want a customer. I want a client. I want to create relationships with the community where my business is. I want to create relationships with the people because I want them to feel safe and comfortable and be themselves to come in and eat at my restaurant or, I don't know, use my copy services or, whatever it is. And I don't understand why the arts in particular has this thing, especially, and I'll say it, Lauren, here in this area, the Raleigh-Durham area, it's so insanely cliquish. And I just really feel like that, if anything, this area deserves for inclusivity. Like this area deserves to have this openness and vulnerability with their art because it's not like it's that like it's not like it's just artists just popping off and oozing at every street. So to create a safe space for artists and to create a space where people can come together, and because art is personal, art is very personal. Art is very, it's so much of you in your art, right? And so if you can't accept me for just walking in the door and being present, how do I know you're going to accept my art? So we have to have these dialogues and these conversations in this area. Why isn't Black art being funded at the same rate as white people? White theater companies, white artists, white musicians, white writers. Why are the grants and the funding, why is it secret? Why is it secret? Why do I have these meetings with people and they're like, oh, well, Rebecca, there's this Blessed Black grant for writers. Well, okay, everyone should know. Living in Chicago and New York and LA, let me tell you, Lauren, and you probably know this already, when you're an artist, grants are, the grant funding, you apply for this grant every February, everybody knows the major grants, what's going on. Go to this institution. They pay artists and give them stipends for working with the elderly or working with, everybody, it's common knowledge. It's in papers, it's on podcasts, it's on walls, billboards, it's everywhere. You walk into a social event and people are like, oh, did you hear? There's this new grant out. Girl, you better sign up for it. And it's just, but here, it's the like, it's the, oh, guess what? Like, why are we whispering about this? Like, why didn't I know this? Why didn't I know that Wake County held aside $5 million for sole proprietors? Do you know how I found that out? I had to call the county commissioners about some other issue that I didn't like. And one of the county commissioners, Vicki Adamson, was like, oh yeah, we set aside $5 million for companies and $1 million of it goes to artists. called Wake Forward. And then I'm like, well, does anybody know about this? And she's like, well, we told some people. Like, so what did I do? I started going on Facebook and I started sharing it with artists in the area. Like, apply. You get up to $50,000. It's a loan.
People don't. Yeah. I want everybody to watch Totally Becky because it's so funny and it's so well done. So don't watch Mars on Netflix. Go to YouTube and watch. I mean, you can watch Mars on Netflix too, but go to YouTube, watch this brilliant artist in Totally Becky. And what I love about Totally Becky is, first of all, this was not a series made 2 weeks ago. This was made a couple of years ago, right? This is not a new series. It's
yeah,
new to us because you just made it available, but not new. But the issues you're talking about are so timely. And my favorite episode, because I hate parent-teacher conferences, and I never have to go to one again. Yay me. Because my daughter just graduated. But is the parent-teacher conference episode. And what you've said on your social media platforms is, yes, we need to look at police reform, but while we're at it, let's look at education reform. So can you talk about racism in our schools? Because some of or not, but
I'm just saying, it's like, it's just, yeah, it's such a passion for me. Like,
let's talk about it.
Because, and as we all know, most, in general, when we think about the United States education system, we kind of think of it as more liberal, right? Especially in higher education, it's like, oh, it's really liberal, but it's just so many, and I was so blessed to have a mom who was a teacher, and my mom was an activist in her college days. So my mom, and now when my mom first got out of college, she was a social worker in New York. So my mom saw like abuse and marginalized voices and poverty at crazy levels, right? So when my mom started to go back, when she went back to Chicago and became a classroom teacher, my mom had this lens of like, yeah, I see why. I see what is happening. They're setting up our children to fail, right? So we have, like, we all know that Black boys, God forbid, that they don't want to sit in a chair all day, told to sit down, shut up, listen, read books that they don't care about, right? I remember when I was little, now mind you, you guys, I'm a writer. I have a master's degree, I have an MFA in screenwriting. I've been told I write really well. I read. I love performing. I love reading plays. But when I was in first grade, my mom was told that I had to go into a remedial reading class because I just couldn't read well. They told my mom that I didn't know how to comprehend what I was reading and that I had a deficit. And my mom, being the teacher that she was and working with a ton of children, my mom was like, no, I'm not going to let you say that. Like, no. And I remember my mom coming home from that meeting, my mom and dad coming home. My dad was just furious to the point he just didn't say anything. But I remember my mom she sat me down and she's like, Rebecca, you're just gonna have to work really hard and you're gonna have to show them that you love reading. You're gonna have to show them that you care, because I just told them you cannot be in a remedial class. And I remember thinking when my mom was telling me this, no, it's not that I don't I don't know how to comprehend what I read. It's that I don't want to read anything about white kids. And I remember thinking that, I don't want to read anything about some, Dick and Jane. I don't want to read anything about like white kids going to Montana. Like, I don't care about that. And it just didn't interest me. But again, I didn't know how to express it. So I didn't. But I just remember thinking like, I don't want to read what they have. And I felt bad. I felt stupid. I felt stupid for not caring about The Last of the Mohicans. I hated that book. Hated The Last of the Mohicans. And I remember my 7th grade teacher, Miss Dahlgren, she was shoving that book down our throats. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't care about this character. I don't care that it takes 3 paragraphs to describe where this man is sitting. It is so boring. But at the same time, my mom was giving me books. I remember I read in 8th grade, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I did not put that book down the entire summer. It was the summer between my 8th grade year and my freshman year. I remember my mom giving me books. I remember I read The Color Purple. I remember reading The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison when I was in high school. And I remember loving it. And that was the same time I also went to the Oprah show, had my Bluest Eye book. Oprah saw it and was like, what people don't know about the Oprah Winfrey show, at the end of the Oprah Winfrey show, she would have you line up and she would shake everybody in the audience's hand. And she saw that I was reading The Bluest Eye and she was like, I just read that book. And I was like, you did? And it was awesome. But like when I started to discover that there were characters who looked like me, who sounded like me, who had grandmothers like me, who baked biscuits like my grandmother, who also had fears like me, who had hair like me. And I would read about these characters. I did not want to put the books down. And I started to realize, wait, Rebecca, it's not that you are a bad student. It's just that that's not what resonates with you. And so we have that. We have white teachers, mainly white women teachers, who we have to think about this. There's a scientific study that says when Black boys turn 7 years old, they're automatic threats to white women. White women perceive Black boys 7 and older as possible threats. We have an industry that is dominated by white women and teaches all children, including Black boys. I had when my son was in 5th grade at Harris Creek Elementary School last year, I had his 5th grade teacher called me one day. And by the way, Thrice is very mild-mannered, my oldest. Very mild-mannered. If he gets upset, he waits to come home to get upset. That's the kind of thing. And we've taught him that. We're like, don't show people your anger. Come home, we'll talk about it, and then we'll address it. Well, this particular day, he was frustrated because he couldn't find his binder. And he was angry. And he was walking through the classroom trying to look for his binder. And he had just had it, and somehow it moved. And he looked all over, and the children in the classroom were trying to look for it. And finally, one of the white boys found it and said, oh, here it is, Craston, because his name is Craston. We just call him Thrice. He's the 3rd. And Craston grabbed it, put it down, and he was just like, like when you're frustrated and you can't find something and you finally do, you just sit and you're just like, and you have to
and you guard it.
while bringing your heart rate down and just saying like, I just don't want to talk right now. I just gotta, right? Well, his teacher calls me right after that, a white woman who we've had issues with. And she showed signs of being racist. And she called me and she's like, I just have to say something. I'm really concerned about Craston. And I said, what happened? She's like, oh, his behavior in class was just awful today. And I said, oh my gosh. Because again, we don't get phone calls like this, So I'm like, oh my God, what happened? Like what? And I'm thinking, did he hit somebody? Did he curse at somebody? Like what, oh my God, what's happened? And she's like, yeah, oh, it's bad. And I said, okay. And she tells the story I told you. And I said, okay. And she said, something's going on with him. I mean, we've got to address this. And I said, has he ever done this in the past? Has he ever done worse? And she's like, no. I said, okay. And I said, have you ever had a bad day? And she said, yes. And I said, and when you've had a bad day, do you think people look at you and go, I don't know what's going on with her, but I'm just going to stay away from her, right? And she's like, well, I guess so. And I said, maybe this is just one of those days for Crafton. Maybe we'll just let him have the rest, because the school day hadn't ended yet. And I said, let's just let him have the rest of his day. And I said, I think you're calling me not because he's having a bad day. I think you're calling me because you don't know how to handle a Black boy who was extremely frustrated. I have a feeling that if my son were white, you would not feel the need to take your prep time to call me about this. Because now I feel like you're creating a case for him. And so I went in and I told her, I went on to tell her about cognitive dissonance, microaggressions, and the fact that white women perceive Black boys as threats from 7 and older. And she was very quiet on the phone, very quiet. And I ended the phone call with, so I think it's okay that Crafton has a bad day today. And so we'll just honor his day by giving him space. Now, when my son came home that day, I sat down with him and I said, we went over it. And he later on revealed to me that white boy that found the notebook had taken it as a joke, thinking that it was a joke. And Thrice realized that because he said it was just on my desk. And he said, I had a feeling that he had taken it and I was just really frustrated. I said, well, did you express that to the boy? He's like, no, Mom, I can't say that to him because I'll get in trouble. So, but I did tell Thrice, it's okay to have a bad day. Don't ever let anybody feel like it is wrong that you can't have a bad day. And I'm sorry that you went through that. And I'm glad and I'm proud of you that you didn't escalate it to a whole nother level. And that's how we ended it. But that's just a glimpse of what it's like to have racism in the education system. And we're talking about how many principals are Black, how many teachers are Black. Like Harris Creek is like 40-some% Black, yet they have a handful of Black teachers. Why? Now let's talk about that, Lauren, really quick. The state of North Carolina is what? Is it 49th out of 50 with education pay?
Yes.
And the only state below it is Mississippi, right? So here we have Black people are we're financially not as well off with assets and other investments and things like that, right? So when we decide on a career or a job, we have to think about, okay, I don't have something to fall back on, or I don't have that much to fall back on, right? So when we go into a profession, we have to think, how can I build my little wealth, or how can I maintain a decent lifestyle, pay bills, put food on the table, right? We cannot afford to have a profession that barely pays us a living wage. And we have to admit that in the state of North Carolina, we are not paying these teachers, public school teachers, a living wage. We're not. It makes no sense that you have a master's degree and you're barely making $45,000, $50,000 a year while while the cost of living in Raleigh alone has skyrocketed, right? So we're asking Black people to work for this pay and pay student loans and pay utilities and pay for, insurance and lifestyle and look decent and cute and get your hair done, right? And I don't know. And then during your 3 months off or your 2 months off from school, still be able to figure out how to maintain living. So that's why Black teachers are like, screw North Carolina. I'm going to New York. I'm going to Chicago. I'm going to Atlanta. I'm going to LA or Dallas. Well, Texas now, they're paying their teachers wonderfully, you know, and I'm going to go to states where I can get paid a nice living wage, get great benefits, and have a decent life. So then your pool of Black candidates is diminished. That's why you have principals here in Wake County who are like, I want to hire Black teachers, but I'm not getting enough candidates in because Black people are like, I'm not getting paid $36,000 and have to pay student loans.
It's if you think there's not a problem in school, I would challenge you to go volunteer in the school system.
I think
spend one day.
Everybody teach for at least a year or two. Like, I think it should be kind of like a draft, a teacher draft. I really do.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm gonna share with you the saddest experience I had in the school system. So when Zara was in middle school, and she went to a predominantly white middle school, but it was a magnet school, so they did have a lot of Black students. Some I don't want to say a lot, but some Black students. Mm-hmm. And I volunteered there every day because we had this horrible experience when Zara was in 5th grade, and almost sued the school system. And so when she got into 6th grade, I said, no one is ever gonna mess with my child again. I'm going to volunteer every day. And I say, Zara went to middle school and so did I, because I volunteered every day for 3 years. So, because I never wanted anybody to hurt her again. And I knew that my presence there would protect her. They're not gonna mess with a crazy white mama. I'm on a list. My girlfriend and I always say we're on the list, so they're not gonna.
I know. Yeah.
Or you might be on the list too, Rebecca. I hate to say, my girlfriend and I say there's a purple folder because the teacher that we had problems with in 5th grade, she had a purple folder on my daughter, and my girlfriend and I always say we have there's a purple folder with our name on it, because when I asked to see the purple folder, the teacher gave it to me and said it was empty, but I'm telling you it wasn't. There were notes. So I was volunteering at school one day. My daughter must have been in 7th or 8th grade. And there were some Black boys in ISS, and they didn't have a teacher to take care of them. ISS is in school suspension. Mm-hmm. And so they asked me to watch this group of Black boys. And sadly, they had to do my PTA grunt work. I don't know if I was filling envelopes or mailing envelopes, but these poor children had to sit with me for 3 hours and stuff the envelopes. And I remember saying to one of them, you guys are really smart. So what's going on? Why did you end up in ISS? And this one boy told me, they don't care about us. They don't care what we have to say. So all we have to do is say one wrong thing and we end up in ISS. And I said, well, you know what? I don't want to punish you for bad behavior. Let's talk about good behavior. What are the good things you can focus on for the next week so that you don't end up having to sit with Miss Lauren for 3 hours stuffing envelopes? And they gave me this whole list of things they were going to try to do and try to achieve, and homework and books. And it was such a positive thing. And I said, if you guys do this in 2 weeks, we're going to have a pizza party. Miss Lauren is going to buy you pizza for lunch, and we're going to hang out. And instead of sitting in ISS, we're going to have lunch together, and we're going to celebrate your glorious achievement. The school wouldn't let me do it. They told me that they would rather punish the bad behavior than basically reward behavior, reward the positive. Why can't we change the narrative? This is the whole problem.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's what the United States is based on, Lauren, is focusing on problems and not. I mean, look at our healthcare system. We don't have a healthcare system that says, okay, you know what, Lauren, you had a great physical, you know what, and because of that, like, we're gonna like not you charge you as much for copay for the next year, right? Your copay is going to be non-existent for the next year. And you're going to, you know, so you can take better care of yourself and put that money into, I don't know, you know, buy more vitamins or, you know, or getting that gym membership or whatever, because we want you to continue the journey that you're on and you're doing such a great job, right? No, what we do is we've taught our medical professionals to look and search. I want to find something wrong with Lauren because I have to bill, because I'm getting this pressure from the healthcare system to find something that's wrong with Lauren. And so the same thing goes with education. My Black boys and have to have something wrong with them because one, schools get kickbacks for all that. Like, you know, the more, and it gets really evil the more you peel back the layers of racism in schools. And, you know, with these, it really is, it's not good. And and my husband gets really upset and passionate about it because he's been in the, you know, education system for over 20 years. And he sees that, you know, it's pointless to go to a public school and demand for changes. And he was even part of the group CELT. He was chair of the group CELT, which was Community Education Leadership Team. And what they would do is they would go to Wake County Public Schools and they would say, well, why did this Black boy get ISS, but this white boy just got disciplined for a few minutes and then went back to class? Down to, why do we have SROs? Why do we have police officers in our schools that discipline the children? That is not, like, that is, so now what we've created is these little mini prisons because we're told they have to walk on the line, right? What do prisons do? They walk on the line. Told you got to sit down and be quiet. They can't talk when they eat. They, you know, we gotta get this curriculum out. You know, it's not about your creativity. It's not about what you know, and if a Black boy at all speaks up or says anything or shares their creativity or their genius, they're a problem. And then you have moms who speak out and say, well, my son was just saying this over and over and over again, and now they want to drug him. Now they want to label him behavior disorder or whatever, you know, and I have to go to these IEP meetings and discuss my child's behavior when I know there's really nothing wrong with my child, right? Which then affects them whether or not they're going to get into a good high school, which affects, you know, whether or not they're going to get into a good college, which affects whether or not they're going to get a decent job, which affects, you know, they're just day-to-day citizen living. And so we oh, well, you know, it's not a big deal. No, it is a huge deal. So, and everybody, and I know, Lauren, you've had like one or two teachers who you can look back and be like, well, if it wasn't for those two teachers, I would not love myself today, right? Everybody has like that the one or two teachers who pulled you aside and said, Lauren, you are amazing. You can do whatever you want. I'm proud of you. And which propelled you to ignore all those negative teachers, right? But if we're funneling, if we're defunding schools, if we're pouring dumbed down curriculum onto our children, if we're having these zero tolerance policies in schools, it's just, now we are producing children who are less creative, less authentic, more frustrated, and we're setting them up to fail.
But if you have a kid in your classroom and you tell them either through your actions or verbally that they are not good enough, they're not smart enough, they're not whatever, at some point they're going to start to believe that. And that's where this whole institutionalized systemic problem comes from.
And it's not just behavior. I'm sorry, Lauren. It's not just behavior. And this is where I get like so frustrated with, not you. I'm just talking about the system overall. When I was at school, I had a mom, like I said, loved being Black. My parents loved being Black. We're always like, Rebecca, you're so beautiful. You're Black. Rebecca, your skin is beautiful. Your hair is beautiful. Blah, 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 blah. But I went to school with all white kids. And the Black children I did go to school with, they were busting. So they didn't live in my neighborhood. And, and so over and over again in the books, I saw blonde hair, blue-eyed girls, right? And I saw that these characters liked the blonde hair, blue-eyed girls, and the blonde hair, blue-eyed girls were cute. And then there every once in a while would be a darker skinned character, he was bad, or she was bad, right? And the people with locked hair were bad, right? And you saw these little bits of propaganda images in textbooks, in stories, even down to the teachers, how the teachers would treat you, and they would say little things. And so then I grew up going, well, then I'm not pretty. I'm not smart. I'm gonna have to work really hard to get 1/4 of what white people get. Why? Where's my history? Okay, well, while the Greeks were doing what they were doing, while the Romans were doing what they were doing, what were the Chinese, Japanese, and Africans doing? Were they sitting around waiting for were they sitting around waiting for white people to give them permission to do anything? And I remember seriously like sitting in class in 6th grade and going, well, where are the African people, with my textbook in front of me trying to look for some brown faces, right? So that you have all these things going on, and you end up hating yourself. And so it doesn't matter, and Lauren, that was amazing that you helped those boys to realize, let's not focus on what you can't do or what you don't want. Let's focus on what you want and what you can do, right? But Lauren, I hate to say this, it's like you were like the multivitamin, the one multivitamin that somebody takes, but that person for 1 year eats cake every single day, right? What's that one multivitamin gonna do, right? And so it like out, like, so those boys are gonna get so much, like, and it's just like, I mean, you literally will have to be in those boys' lives because don't think the parents aren't doing it. The parents are doing it, but even with all that Philip and Tony ingrained in me, I still walked away with like, but those are my parents. They're just saying that because they love me. The truth is, I'm gonna have to work really hard, and it's gonna be really messed up. And I'm just gonna have to resign myself in knowing that I ain't that cute, and I ain't that pretty, and I ain't that intelligent while achieving my goals. Now, I always knew I was gonna be great, but I always felt like there was somebody smarter, prettier, just faster, than me. And so so yes, we have that 1 or 2 teachers that just, I pray that just put enough into our brains, our children's brains, that they go, okay, so I'm not going to listen. I'm not going to listen to all these other negative things. I am going to focus on what I can do. I am going to focus on my good behavior, right? But And hopefully with the changes that are happening in the world, I pray that children are looking at the television screens and going, oh, so Black is beautiful. Oh, so so the little Black girls with their hair, like, wait, so my hair is just as pretty as that white girl's hair, right? And that, oh, wow, like people are gonna see my genius at some point, right? And so let's just, I'm not gonna say hope, because I don't believe in hope. I believe in truth. I believe in envisioning things and getting things done. And all I wanna say is just like, let's just envision that. And along the way, white people, checking yourselves. Check yourself and check each other. Check, Lauren, like if your white friend says something that's like, or even down to the Nextdoor app. You have the Nextdoor app, right? I have the Nextdoor app. And I remember one time somebody in the neighborhood said, oh, there are these suspicious boys walking down the street and they have a basketball. I mean, we all know what that means. And they have a basketball. So I responded, because all the other people, well, who are they? And how many? Oh, it's 3 of them. I want to know where they were going with the basketball, right? And so some people were like, well, call the police. Walking down the street. So I was like, okay. So I then intervened. I said, no need to call the police if they haven't done anything. And I said, what does the basketball have to do with anything? Why are we highlighting basketball? Last I checked, basketball is not a weapon, right? And well, I was just saying, I said, now what I think you wanted to say was that they're Black, but you were too coward to actually say there are 3 Black boys that I feel threatened by. Well, the Nextdoor app, Lauren, it blew up. Oh, all these white men were talking about, oh, we didn't say anything about race and screw you and blah, 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 and where do you live? And I'm like, what? So that's where, and a couple white people did come and say, well, actually, Rebecca is right. That does seem kind of weird that you would highlight the basketball. So this is where white people step in and go, okay, that was wrong. And then, and eventually the couple of the parents of the children, like I think you were talking about my son, they were on their way from the clubhouse back home. So, this is where white people go, no, that was not cool. You saw the parent, there's nothing wrong with what they did. And you guys need to check your implicit bias or check your blatant racism. And that is what's going to start to change. But I'm going to say this, and white people are not going to like it. Lauren, white people, there are certain groups of white people that are not going to change, Lauren. As long as we have the United Daughters of the Confederacy, and that's still an active organization, as I saw on your thing, which really inspired me. I was like, what? As long as we have organizations like the Eugenics Society, very active in America, wealthy people pay dues to that organization. Wealthy, not poor white people, but wealthy white people. As long as we have hedge funds who literally make money off of evicting people, who make money off of people dying, people losing their jobs, we're not going to get any better. And white people are not, certain segment of white population is not going to get better because they don't want their children to have to share their inheritance with my children. And they don't, not even share. They don't want my children to have just as much as their children. I know we probably have to go in 3 minutes, but I do want to say this, and something how Black parents teach their children. My dad, like I said, made a lot of money, and he bought, for a long time, he didn't have a car because we didn't need it. We lived in the suburbs outside Chicago. He could just hop on the train, go downtown, and my mom, or sometimes my mom would pick him up or whatever. And so finally my dad bought a really nice luxury car, and he would have my mom park in a way in our driveway where you couldn't see his car from the street. And I remember one day I said, Dad, why do you go such lengths to have my mom park behind your car? And we lived in a very, very upper middle class, predominantly white neighborhood. And it was predominantly Jewish because we lived in Skokie. And if you're Jewish, you know where Skokie, Illinois is and what. And so we had a lot of awesome neighbors. And one of them was somebody who worked with my dad, Dave Epstein, who was also an executive at the Federal Reserve Bank. And he lived maybe 5 blocks away from us. And my dad said, I trust Dave. I just don't trust the white people that Dave talks to at work. And I was like, what does that have to do with your car, Dad? And he said, if Dave drives by our house and sees my new car, and he goes back to work and says, oh, Philip has a new car. Philip, you got a new car. And it's this. And they realize it's a luxury car. He said, I could lose my job. I could get demoted. And because white people don't feel comfortable that Black people have everything that they have. Now, you can have the same job, but you can't have the same job and the same house. You can have the same house. You might be able to have the same house and the same job, but you definitely can't have the same car and the same vacation home. You can't have the same clothes. So it's something that has to be lesser than. And so my dad said, don't ever show white people everything you have because you will be attacked. And that's what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Wilmington, North Carolina, Rosewood, Florida, Bronzeville in Chicago, Illinois, Harlem in New York City, New York, Hayti here in Durham. Black people were very comfortable in showing what they had, and because they were thinking, well, you know what, we're self-sufficient. White people don't want us in our community. We got our own banks, we got our own schools, we got our own this. And what happened is when they started to distribute and learn how to distribute without white people who were blocking them or raising tariffs or whatever, or money or taxes, that's when white people were like, hell no, so now you gonna make more profit than us? Oh no, now we gotta burn you, we gotta pillage, we gotta take things away from you, we gotta kill you, and we've gotta stop you, and we gotta make you an example for all these other Black people who have an inkling of a thought to want to build their own self-sustainable communities. And so we have in the end, white people go, well, Rebecca, why don't Black people do for themselves? And you go, we did multiple times. But every time we did, you white people attacked us and took it from us. And you killed us. Look what happened to Medgar Evers. Look what happened to Malcolm X. Look what happened to Martin Luther King, who had started to realize, like, wait a second. We got to start having our own Black banks. And as soon as he started talking about defunding white banks and building Black banks, what did they do? They uninvited him from the White House, Lyndon B. Johnson, and months later, they assassinated him. So white people do not want to give up their land, their money, their assets, and other resources. So that's why I am very hesitant to say that things are going to change.
Sadly, I am too, but anybody who can look at your cute son, Jack, who is 10 years old, and say that he's a threat in any way, shape, or form, you just come and deal with me, because he is, I mean, come on, seriously, people? So yeah, and for those of you on our Facebook chat, don't ever call her Becky. Her web series is called Totally Becky. Don't do it. I'm warning you. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Rebecca, I'm Rebecca. You know who would call me Becky? My grandmother. But she would call me in a very Mississippi way. She called me Becky. So it's hard for me to respond to Becky. I respond, like, I have some family members who call me Becky. Becky, Becky, Becky. And for some reason, I'm like, oh, I can respond. But yeah, like, unless you have my DNA and you share it and you come to our family reunions, you cannot call me Becky.
She's Rebecca. But she's got a great web series called Totally Becky. Please go see that. Watch the 3 episodes. I hope you will do more episodes because it's so funny and it's so smart and it's so truthful and honest. And I love that. And I love you. And we got.
Oh, and also the Rebecca show, Lauren. Rebecca and I have had some conversation, and we're going to figure out how to put our work virtually, so like we can share it with the world. So yeah, that's to come. Rebecca had like a really awesome idea, and I'm like, what? Yes, let's do it. So yeah, it's the Rebecca show, and hopefully we'll be able to remount it next year. So,
I hope to see it. I hope to see it. And when it does happen virtually, let me know because I'll bring you both back on and we can talk about that. Thank you so much. I enjoy you and I'm so happy that I got to meet you in person prior to the pandemic and we become friends. And I just hope to keep spreading the word about your art because it's good.
Well, and thank you, Lauren, for always having an open heart and like being okay with being uncomfortable and just seeing my brownness, seeing my blackness and loving me for it. And that's, gosh, that feels so good. That feels really good.
Well, if you and I can model what this looks like, then maybe other people will go out in the world and model. I know I'm talking crazy right now, but
no, I don't think so. I'm like that, maybe. And I think it might happen just one person at a time.
Yeah.
Or it might just happen like where Zara and your son are just like their generation is just gonna have to be like the first generation of just being like, yeah, we're not down for marginalizing, and so maybe that's what it is.
I hope so. So those of you who have fallen in love with Rebecca like I do, you have a whole fan club on Facebook now. Follow us on Instagram. Follow the RDU on Stage Instagram because Rebecca's taking over today. So you can keep watching her and maybe she'll make some more videos for you. Maybe she'll keep talking to you. And then tomorrow,
like I might just do a video showing my toes and me shaving the hair off my toes.
Well, maybe your son will make a video. Like, who knows what's going to happen, but just follow us on Instagram and then follow tomorrow. I was very disappointed people didn't jump into the share the mic thing. So I'm just sharing my mic. So tomorrow, Aurelia Belfield is taking over and Thursday, Shonda Branch is taking over. So I'm just going to keep sharing the mic until you all get on board with the sharing the mic thing.
You Raleigh Theater, Little Theater, you need to share your mic.
And every other theater, share the mic. It's okay. All right. I love you. Just stay safe and healthy and keep me posted on what's happening. And I will check in with you. And I'll keep following on Instagram to see what happens next. I want to see you save your toes.
With my toes.
Thank you. Come back at 7:00 tonight, everyone. I'll be talking with Alan Campbell, who about this weird time and media space we're sitting in. And I will talk to you soon, Rebecca.